Dominic Simpson, candidate number 6840.
There's a lot of health benefits regarding football, which can be split into four main categories of mental, psychological, and then physical, social, and personal. The sort of physical benefits that you're going to experience are going to have greater cardiovascular endurance, which will make it easy to prevent injuries and illnesses such as coronary heart disease and strokes, and along with making muscle joints stronger and improving ligament strength, which will help prevent injuries regarding flexibility. So other physical benefits is it will help prevent obesity and problems such as diabetes, so which all helps towards a healthy, balanced, active lifestyle. Some of the social benefits are to do with making friends, and it also makes it easy to learn team building skills such as leadership and teamwork, and helping with social skills as well, learning to work in different environments. Personal benefits are helping towards a better quality of life, so it's going to reduce stress levels, which also goes towards a healthy, balanced, active lifestyle, as it maintains a better quality of life, so it's more enjoyment when you're playing the sport. The sort of mental benefits you're going to experience are going to be to do with the stress levels again, and it'll help teach you how to stay healthy, how to live a balanced, active, healthy lifestyle, as well as teaching you about practice methods, and so how to improve in different things which you can take into different forms of living. The opportunities you've got in football for locally for participation comes from an early age at school level, where schools can introduce the young students into things like the after-school football clubs, the break-time football clubs, and the schools often have links with outside clubs. So where I grew up was Carlisle, and my school, Hayton, had a link with Warwick Wanderers, so the young players would be able to progress into Warwick Wanderers, which they could take into all age groups, starting at a young age, just at the introduction level of the participation pyramid, and then can build it into the participation, so they're playing fixtures and getting into tournaments, that sort of thing. Other ways of getting into participating would be through the FA coaching, where the FA give coaching badges so you can get involved coaching wise, and refereeing courses, that sort of thing. So not just involved with playing, but are involved in the sport. Other things that the FA do is they have a funding for things such as the FA McDonald's schemes, where they play local tournaments with the schools, and then Umbro also do the winners of all them tournaments do a national tournament. I think with the FA as well, they do a lot of we've also got the football in the communities, so local teams such as Stockport County and Carlisle United, they bring trained coaches to get introduction to the young students of the schools and the local schools in the local area through grassroots schemes such as the football in the community and the football schemes that go around travelling around, and the part-time coaches. The opportunities for excellence also start at the early age through the school teams, where they play fixtures and you've got competition, so you with the excellence, you're introducing them into the win ethic, where there's competition, so the drive to win, the importance of winning. But that comes a bit later on, but at the early ages they're just getting them involved with the teams, getting the competitive spirit and understanding the league structure and that sort of thing. But in the excellence there'll be more specialist coaches, specialist funding from the national government body, which is the FA for football. So you'll have specialist coaches that will be better trained, better qualified, and the facilities will also be better for the excellence level of participation. From the early age you can get into local clubs which can progress into the under-16s, under-18s, then to an open age group through leagues such as the North West Counties League. We've got the North West Youth Alliance League. Where I grew up was in Carlisle, so we had the Carlisle Glass League, which was the youth from maybe under-9s to under 12s, and then after that it got to a bit of a higher standard. Teams such as Pirelli, Carlisle City, New Lathes, New Bank, those are the sort of teams who play in the lower leagues. And then once you start progressing to maybe a semi-professional level, you've got the Northwest Youth Alliance League, which has local teams around this area such as Curzon Ashton, New Mills, where they are performing not full time but they're at a youth team level, which is a good standard of football, where the coaching will be higher, the facilities will be better, and the funding there'll be more specialist coaches such as sports psychologists and medical staff, which are there unaided for the performers. From semi-professional teams, there's a lot of scouting from the professional teams in the academies and the Centre of Excellences. The current scheme is Centre of Excellence and academies for the professional teams, where Centre of Excellences are judged on their funding and their facilities, but they don't have specific facilities for the academy players, whereas the academies have specific facilities, greater experienced staff, and more specialist staff such as the health dietitists and psychologists and that sort of thing with the players. But there's a new scheme that will be brought in July 2012 by the FA, which is known as the EPIP, which is going to be called the Elite Player Performance Pack, where all the Football League and the conference sides will be split into 4 categories of category 1, 2, 3 and 4, and they'll all be judged on the sort of funding and facilities that the club has, the amount of full-time specialist staff that are available, and the ability isn't necessarily relevant, but it's thought that the greater clubs such as the Premier League clubs and the Championship clubs, they will be in category 1, and throughout the season category 1 will be playing category 1, but category 2, 3 and 4, they can all play against each other but only in a friendly structure. So the league structure will be categorised, but friendlies can be played across the categories. So that will be brought in July 2012 by the FA. But the current structure does still stand as Centre of Excellence as an academy, which is a bit more split, so they're not as equal. Like, there's greater opportunities with academies as the standard's a bit better, as to be expected because of the coaching standard. From the under 16s, I believe, is the most important age group for the youth level, because it's when scholarships at professional clubs are started to be given, but from early ages as under 14s, some higher level academies such as Derby County and Manchester City and Blackburn Rovers, they introduce a school release where 1 day a week their players will be taken out of school to do a full day of training to get them used to living the lifestyle of training daily and that sort of thing, but their education will still be full-time, so it's not taking them out of school, but it's just starting to introduce a bit more of a full-time ethic of training. So that'll be, but Manchester City on a specific level, they've taken their under 14s out of school and they've placed them into a local private school called St Bede's. And St Bede's, they have a full-time education but also do training every day. So they're at a boarding school complex whilst doing education as well as doing full-time sports, which will give them the best opportunities to progress their players and make them hopefully full-time in the years to come. When you get to under 16 level, the youth scholarships are handed out, and they can be done by scouting to local teams or from the academy systems. So the local teams will put forward if they feel their players are good enough, and they might go in for a trial at teams like Stockport County, Oldham, Rochdale. They're the Centre of Excellences, but the academy structure is all done on youth level. At youth level, it's all done the same. So it's a full-time scholarship where there will be some form of further education, but it won't be full-time. It'll only be a part-time course, usually on something like sports management or sport business, so related to sport.
That's great.
There's the current running of the county and district teams, which gets the young people from under 14s and under 12. Sorry, you can start playing county level. So the schools will be given an opportunity to put forward 2 of their strongest players and 2 of the strongest players from all the schools in the area. So, for example, in Cumbria, we had 2 from our primary school and 2 from all the other schools around, went to a county trial, and from the county trial there was a team of 18 selected, which played other counties and districts, so that sort of area, which the local professional teams such as Carlisle and Darlington and Newcastle, they could come and watch the games and from there do their scouting for their academies. From youth team level, from under 16 level, sorry, is the first chance that international competition is brought in. So England will scout with the better academies and centre of excellences to give all the opportunities for all the players to have a look in for the international level. And the first opportunity is England schoolboys at under 16, and the Victory Shield is the first competition that they'll take part in, which is between England, Ireland, Scotland and Wales, where they can compete for their country. And that can progress to the under 18s, to under 19s, and then to under 20s and 21s, where there used to be an in-between level from under 21s to the first team known as England B, but that was taken out a few years ago now, and you can only play under 21s or first team level after that. And that'll all be done, that's once the players who were at youth team level at their clubs, they'll have gone on to get a first year pro and they'll become professional footballers. And then Fabio Capello and the England scouting staff will go around the clubs, and if they feel that they've had a tap in that a player's doing well, they'll go and scout him and see if they think he's good enough to come and play for the country. And obviously there's the Football League setup, which is all run by the FA. So you've got the Premier League, the Championship, League 1 and 2 are the 92 teams in the Football League, and they're getting the most funding, the specialist funding from the FA, and the best facilities. But also there's lower league clubs such as FC United who also have good funding, and they're progressing. Teams like Fleetwood who have got good funding, which is getting them through the lower leagues and trying to get them into the Football League. And that's everything.
Okay.
Just get it back to where the first example is. Making an action plan for the right back 26 for the Reds, as I find his main weakness is his fitness. He has low cardiovascular endurance, which is shown by quite a lot of laziness when he's tracking back in defence. The first example of a weakness he has is he has a poor header at 1 minute 42. When he keeps his eyes off the ball, he doesn't have good balance with his arms. He's got a good leap, he gets up into the air, but his accuracy with the header is poor, as there's no opposition around him, and it still manages to go over his head. Like his heading accuracy is wrong. We'll watch on this next bit. Here we go, this is the first header. He's not got defenders around and he loses his balance, and then if we watch here, he's slow to track back. He needs to be covering back behind the centre half so he can get a bank of 3 behind to keep the offside line straight, but not giving space in behind. Luckily the defender defended it well, got the ball away to the central midfielders and they were able to break from there, but he needed to be getting back and defending more to cover his man. So that's the first example of him not working back. But, so the poor header also, but the positioning is more concerning, because if he hadn't have got back there, the ball could have been put over the top and they could have gone into a goal scoring opportunity, which we can see by the left back of where is this? Yeah, if we watched at one point the left back for Stockport County and for the Blues, the ball's on the right hand side of the pitch, so he's make sure he's tucked in behind, so he's come over, closed the gaps, so there's no gaps in behind through to the attackers. So we see here he's keeping his line, but he's not all the way over on the line. Number 26 is an example of him being beaten easily by his defender. Here we go, here's the first example. He takes the throw in and gets the ball back. The ball's cleared out to the Stockport team, and rather than here, he's kept a good body position. He's stayed low whilst he's going in, showing the player inside, but he's lost his patience and he's gone in for the ball when he should have just stayed calm, made sure they played it back from the back. There was no need to dive in, and then he's easily taken the ball just around him, and he's got a free run away from him. And we see here he starts to lag. He doesn't bother keep sprinting back for it. He's a bit lazy in that, which is giving his defence a problem. As if we watch him, he carries on running, but he doesn't tuck back in to get the defender. So he's easily beaten here again, and you can see he's tiring already, and it's only 2 minutes into the game, which shows his poor cardiovascular endurance. This is a good example here. We've got a strength of a sliding tackle. He manages to get the ball down low. He keeps his eye on the player, keeps his eye on the ball. Doesn't dive in sillily. Like there's no danger. The ball was going wide, but he stopped a cross, so he stopped the goal scoring opportunity, and he manages to come away with the ball. His clearance is a bit rushed. He had a lot of time on the ball. He could have just composed himself. He had a lot of space here. He also had a simple pass, but instead he's gone for the advanced option, which turned out badly as it was dispossessed by Stockport midfield. There's an example I'll try and find which shows another bit of his passing. Here we go. Here's another example of him not tracking back, and this is where the example of not tucking in has come to effect. The Stockport midfield get the ball, and the ball goes over the top, and if we watch, he's not. Oh, sorry. The players, he's still further back, whereas he should have. If he was in a bank of 4 and their back line was straight, he wouldn't have been able to give the space in behind for the Stockport striker to run in. But he's just quite lethargical with with coming back, and he allows the striker to go through him behind, and he's still not tracking back to get the defenders. Which, as you see, the goalkeeper makes a good save, but there's a chance of a goal scoring opportunity. That's a good strength from the from the red goalkeeper. He's got time on the ball and he's good distribution. You've seen the player out wide. His arm action's strong, it stayed low, so it's not going to be taken away by the wind or anything like that. Into the path of the midfielders so they can get a good counter attack. It's a great challenge by the left back, coming onto a covering challenge, manages to keep his eyes on the ball. Here we see the right back for the red.
Is this your man, yeah?
This is the man, yeah. The ball comes back to him, his first touch good out of his feet, he gets a good bit of close control, but then his short pass is poor as there was no players around him. His technically, it was good. He's kept his head over the ball, he's kept his non-striking foot planted, and his arms are out for balance, but there's just he's not looking up to see where the players are. There's clearly only 2 Stockport players there, and it's just a rushed pass. You can tell there's a bit of inexperience there with him being a young lad, and he just needed to stay a bit calm, but there's good close control shown by he kept the ball close, so he's got options to pass, move, run, different options there, but the close control, but the pass was poor. Stockport have an opportunity to score coming up, and if you watch here, they've got the number 10 or 20 striker. He doesn't do well to get goal side of him. He's still a bit lethargical with his tracking back, so which gives him a chance to get goal side and manages to get away. If you watch the 20s, he's coming through here, and it's not his man, but if he's there and if he was in the bank of 4, he'd have been able to tuck round, get goal side of him, block off the shot. Whereas he's stayed a bit too far back. He's not jostling for the ball, as he'd be over muscled by the 20. But he needs to make sure he's tracking back. They get a goal, they get a shot off. Luckily, it's blocked, but it was too easy for the player to get away. This is a good example of how he stops the cross. He manages to stay patient. He doesn't need to dive in. He's ushering him away from goal. Stops the cross. Therefore, he's done his job. We've got an example coming up of a good short to mid-range pass that he shows. He takes the ball out of his feet well, gets his head over the ball, sees the player, and he's got good positioning. He looks to get a give and go. So he passes the ball, he's seen the space in behind the centre midfielder for Stockport, and he's made that running behind. The centre midfielder for Blue has tracked him well, which has taken away the option of getting the ball back, but it's good movement by him. Again, he's caught out of position, but he's not tracking back quickly enough. There's no men around him, and he's just jogging to get back into position rather than sprinting to make sure. Good block by the central midfielder. It's a good sliding tackle there. He keeps his eyes on the ball, gets low central gravity, doesn't dive in and studs up, which is following the laws of the game. Keeps his feet on the floor, but gets a slide there to dispossess the player coming through, because the left midfielder's touch was a bit too heavy, which gave him the chance to step in and dispossess him. Again, just jogging back into position, not putting the effort in, which shows he's a bit tired. I'd like to see him have a bit more attacking with the chance. But from the video, I've identified his main weakness to be his cardiovascular endurance, which is low. As we see, a lot of times he's failing to be tracking back, and he's failing to keep with his man, which has put them in a dangerous position. Because as a defender, if his positioning's off, there'll be spacing behind for the strike, and when you've got experienced strikers like the Blues do with the 20, you'll see the spacing behind, you'll be able to get in there, and then once he's in that position, because he's not strong enough physically, as he's quite small and he's not as quick as the other two players, he's struggling to get back in and defend it effectively. So an action plan for this, I think first of all the goal is to improve his cardiovascular endurance so he's able to get back into those positions more easily. The action plan will consist of four weeks, where it's going to be 2 sessions to begin with, but progressing to 3 sessions a week, which will be the first example of a progressive practice, and each session will be 30 minutes. So to begin, we'll do some testing to find out his actual cardiovascular endurance level, and we can do this by the Cooper 12-minute run test, the multi-stage fitness test, also known as the BLEEP test, and we can do some testings on his VO2 maxing, but that is a bit complicated with the science behind that, so it won't really affect his actual endurance in a match situation. But the good thing about cardiovascular endurance is it's easy to test, and to visually test in a game situation will be the last testing of it. The sort of things we'll do during the 4 weeks will be cardiovascular workouts, such as on the treadmill, which will work anaerobically and anaerobically for his respiration and to improve his cardiovascular endurance. We can begin with doing interval training on machines such as the cross trainer and the treadmills. So you start doing 45 seconds in a minute. So always start with a warm up to make sure we're preventing injuries. But in each minute you'd have 45 seconds at a resting pace of maybe something like 75 revs per minute, and then or revs, whichever one it is per minute, and then increase that for the last 15 seconds of the minute to maybe around 95 or 100. So we're really working in that last 15 seconds, which will work anaerobically, which will help to do when he's sprinting, when he's working with a loss of oxygen. The sort of circuits we can use will involve different exercises, such as skipping and interval running, so between cones, doing that sort of thing. We can work on body weight exercises like burpees and squats to get the heart rate raised and to get some cardiac hypertrophy, which will help him pump more blood and improve his cardiovascular endurance. The progressions that we can use in in the circuits can be done on the FIT principles, known as frequency, intensity, time and type. So we can increase the frequency. So to begin with, we'll only be doing two sessions a week for the first 2 weeks, but then in the last 2 weeks we can do 3 sessions to get that progression in. The intensity can be things such as I've already mentioned on the cross trainer, you can start at 75. If we increase the resting to 80, and then the speed to maybe 100 to 110, so we're working that bit more. The time, you can increase each circuit. So in the circuits, if we're going to work for 30 seconds per station, we can increase that to 30 or 40 seconds per station. And the type, so we want to be making sure that we're varying the practices so that we're not getting some like boredom, so we don't get him bored, so he's wanting to work, so we keep his motivation, because motivation is important to learning and to practice training. With another thing that should be followed during the circuits is the SPOR principles. So you've got specific, we want to make it specific so that we're following the target or the goal, which is to improve cardiovascular endurance. So we're wanting to be making sure that the stations and the exercises are going to be improving that, and they're not going to be irrelevant. So we're not going to be making him lift really heavy weights, which are going to increase his muscular hypertrophy. That's not our aim. We want to make sure we're getting his heart rate raised, we're increasing his cardiovascular endurance specifically. With the progressions, I've talked a bit about the progressions of practice, and so this could be done with the exercise and with the circuit training, increasing the frequency of it and also reducing the rest time in between circuits, increasing the amount of circuits done per session. This will have an overall effect, which leads into the next SPOR principle of overload. So we wanted to be making sure we're working, overloading what he needs to be doing, so we're working his heart harder and his lungs going to be pumping more oxygen. So we're making sure we get an overload of cardiovascular endurance. The effects of the SPOR principles can be reversible. So we need to make sure that the training is continued so that we don't lose the effects of them, so his cardiovascular doesn't drop. So that'll mean that he has to regularly keep up with his cardiovascular endurance, doing things like the treadmill in the gym and the cross training to make sure he keeps that level of fitness up. And lastly, doing with the tedium and the variance. To avoid boredom, we should make sure we vary the practices, so from week to week they're not doing the same circuits, but we do a different circuit in a different order, so it's a new environment or maybe a new setting, so that it's not getting boredom and that sort of thing. And then after the 4 weeks of training, we'll go back and redo the Cooper 12-minute run, the multi-stage fitness tests, and see if we have actually found any improvements. But the main improvement can be seen in the match situation, where we find out if he has improved enough to make sure that we avoid the weaknesses, sort of the laziness and the lack of tracking back, as we've seen in the clip.
Just one thing, Dominic, can you just clarify the action plan? The purpose of it was CV endurance,
Yeah.
But also with a focus of improving his positional play, particularly his defending. Do you have any sort of? Can you just talk me through that, the sort of coaching points?
Sorry, yeah, the coaching points of the defending. His weakness was as a fullback, which his position is as a right back. He needs to make sure, because they're playing 4 at the back, that if the ball's gone over to the opposite side of the field and the left back, say you've got the 4 here and the ball's over at this side of the field, this player will be coming up to track the ball, and these 3 defenders need to drop back in, so because the danger won't be over at the left hand side of the pitch, so they need to drop back in, making sure they cover the central areas of the end third. But when the ball comes back, these 3 need to be doing this, and he needs to be pushing up, but he needs to be making sure that when the ball's gone away, he's dropping back into position, and to make sure that the ball can't then go over the top and get them into a goal scoring opportunity. So by doing that, we can teach him through tactics. That will be the coach's job and the manager's job, to talk to him about the positioning. But most importantly, I think I've seen that he's seen that he needs to track back, but he's just been a bit lazy with it, and he's not really gone with the speed and the fitness that he should have been going for, because you need to really bust a gut to get back in there, because if any ball can go over and through on goal, and he could score, so putting his team in a dangerous position.
That's fine, thank you.